This withdrawal will take weeks, not days. Until that time, our forces will remain in the towns that are located near the oil fields.
So there you have the Secretary of State talking about the drawing down of troops in Syria. And I know at the beginning of that video, you were probably like, oh God, we don't know exactly what the timeline is, but you probably, like me, felt a lot more comfortable once he had confirmed that we will in fact be protecting the oil fields. Most important thing, really like it to be just the explicit goal of foreign deployments of troops for the US military. That's nice. But anyway, look, we start off with that to sort of get you in the idea of how the news has been going around Syria, Turkey, the Kurds, and what's happening with our troops there. Because I've got like 4 different bits of news, some of it contradictory about what's actually happening there. But what they all say very loud and clear, regardless of who you talk to, is that the narrative that's been put forth about what is happening and why Donald Trump is doing it is an absolute lie. Anytime this guy has gone forward and said, all I want is an end to our wars, he is spitting in your face. And you're gonna see that as we go through this.
Speaking of narratives, everybody, including Donald Trump, has admitted that this was never a ceasefire.
Yeah, well, we're on the last day of whatever it is. Both sides say that the other side has violated it. It seems like generally the violence has been lower, which from Turkey's point of view, you can afford to have after like a week and a half of just wide-scale massacres of as many people as possible. You sort of bought yourself a little bit of breathing and rearming time. Look, maybe it'll be great. Maybe it'll be a great success. The Kurds don't seem thrilled with it, so I'm gonna generally take their side on this since they were the one that was being wiped out in mass numbers. But we'll see. So why don't we go through a little bit of what we've learned over the weekend?
Let's do that.
So US troops leaving Syria will be relocated. Oh, sorry, actually, we do have actually, I'm glad that you brought up the ceasefire because Trump actually tweeted about that this morning. So, and he very much echoes what Esper was saying in that video we showed you. He says, the ceasefire is holding up very nicely. There are some minor skirmishes that have ended quickly.
So then wait, so then no. So those first 2 sentences don't go in the same paragraph.
They're a little bit contradictory, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, it could be a relative ceasefire, which is good. The goal should be fewer people being killed.
Right, but that's not the goal of a ceasefire.
It's a less fire, which is not a term that's often used because it's not a term.
Right, it's also not a ceasefire holding up very nicely. It's a ceasefire not holding up at all.
Yes,
But not being as bad as could be.
But in that vein, the beginning of the tweet not as bad as the end of the tweet though. So let's continue. New areas being resettled with Kurds, that's because they're being forced out of the areas they were living in. That's not a plus, that's a negative. They're being forced out of those areas. US soldiers are not in combat or ceasefire zone. We have secured the oil. And to really put like a clinch on it, like the capitalization of oil. And then he says, ending endless wars. So again, that is what he wants you to believe. First of all, he feels the need to be like, yeah, we're protecting the oil. That's usually the part of this that they hide. They're just out and out with it. But then they have this new message, is that they understand that a lot of Americans are sick of these forever wars and want them to be drawn down. My concern is over that very honest, true sentiment being co-opted by hawks who will try to appeal to those people without actually drawing down the wars. And when I see the media trying to pretend that this is anything more than rhetoric, it infuriates me to no end because it is the sort of move by the media that is going to allow these wars to continue. And so he says ending endless wars. What's actually happening? Well, US troops leaving Syria will be relocated to Western Iraq, where they will continue to conduct operations to prevent a resurgence of the Islamic State. That's according to Mark Esper, or as Trump called him in a tweet before he deleted it and corrected it, Mark, was it Esperanto, which is not his name, it's a language, not a person at all.
It's not a possible typo,
It's weird, I don't know why your phone would autocorrect to that, but the important point is, it is not ending a war if you move the troops east a bit.
Right.
That's not ending a war.
At all.
You can say it's good that they're going there, they'll continue to fight ISIS, maybe they can protect the Kurds. If that's where you're coming from, then fine. But what it is not ending wars. It's just moving them a little bit.
So he's lying.
For the first time. Washington Post, I checked it, it's his first lie. So, but that message, which by the way came from Mark Esperanto, he's not even sure about that, and he doesn't want you to think that he's sure about that, which is why he said things could change between now and whenever we complete the withdrawal, but that's the game plan right now. And he says that not just because you never know what's gonna happen with foreign policy and military conflicts, but because you never know what's going to happen with Donald Trump and how he might change his mind on this. So what's interesting is the defense chief did not rule out the possibility of US forces conducting counterterrorism missions from Iraq into Syria. So not only are they not leaving the region, they're just moving over, but they might in fact continue the same operations in the same place. They're just gonna travel over the border before they do it. So again, like this con is very easy to see through. They're barely pretending. And by the way, in terms of the overall number of troops, they're still gonna leave troops in Syria. Every day they switch back and forth between we're pulling 1,000 out, we're pulling 50 out, we're pulling 1,000 out. We might, in fact, senior administration official says we might leave 200, likely near the border with Iraq, where they can visit with all the other troops from Syria, which are now in Iraq. And so I just want people to understand that it is great to want an end to the wars and to advocate for it, as like Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders were in trying to cut our involvement in the war on Yemen. But it can't be a shallow, see-through, fake version of pushing for that, where you pretend that troops being shuffled around the Mideast is doing anything to actually draw down our numbers, while at the same time shipping thousands of new soldiers to Saudi Arabia. Don't get drawn in by this con. There's too much on the line. Thank you for watching this clip from The Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.